right, my dear, you're going to have 3 minutes for your opening statement, and that time starts now.
Today, I'm going to be debating that war brings progress. This means that war can help things or people or ideas develop and advance. I'm debating that the statement is true or affirmative. My first main point is that war/fighting can help push you to make you better. This can happen in many different circumstances. Whether it's running a race, trying to get a good grade on a test, having a battle or competition with yourself or others can motivate you to be the best that you can be. The anger and adrenaline from a battle or fight can be harnessed, and if used properly can be turned into energy. That energy can be really important and could mean the extra % on your grade or beating your opponent in the final stretch of a race. My first example is from a study about stressful situations flushing adrenaline through the body, causing people to react in extraordinary ways. The scientists investigated something called hysterical strength. This happens when there is a hard, stressful, or fearful situation at hand, and the hypothalamus in your brain is activated. This is responsible for controlling your adrenaline. When it is activated, the adrenaline in your body spikes and sends extra blood through your body and into your muscles. This allows your muscles to work at super strength. This can mean helping you to win a race or keep you safe in a fearful situation. My second example is from daily life. This example shows that having a battle against yourself can help bring progress. Every trimester, I have a goal to get better grades than the last. By doing this, I try to beat myself. I have a battle against myself to push me to be the best me that I can be. This helps me work harder in school and learn so much more than I would have without competing against myself to be better. My second main point is that war can help get rid of a bad situation. War, while it can be hurtful, is really effective in getting rid of a cruel or scary situation in front of you. This is clear in many different examples. My first example is from the Russian Revolution, which we learned about in language arts, history, and in Animal Farm this year. The Tsar, Nicholas II, was in rule of Russia at the time the revolution started. They didn't like how he was ruling, and after a huge revolution called the February Revolution, Nicholas II was forced to abdicate the throne. After many revolutions in Russia, Vladimir Lenin became the leader of Russia, who they liked much more. My second example is a quote by George Orwell. This quote reads, "People sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf." This means that not a lot of people may realize it, but there is always people fighting to protect us. Even though war may be sad, it is necessary for the greater good of the people. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
All right. All right, so you have 2 minutes to cross-examine Eva, and that time begins now.
In your second main point, then you said that war can get rid of a bad situation, such as the Russian Revolution. But after the Russian Revolution, then there was the Reign of Terror. And do you think that this killed many people?
Yes, that can be true, but the Russian Revolution allowed for there to be more progress in Russia and allowed for new things to advance.
But many people were starving in the during the purge when many people died. Do you agree?
Yes, that is true, but there's always a consequence, and sometimes there's certain people that have to suffer for there to be something better for the greater good.
In Animal Farm, was there a battle between the farm animals and Mr. Frederick and his men?
Yes, there was.
During this battle, did Mr. Frederick and his men destroy the windmill?
Yes, they did.
After the war, did the animals have to rebuild their windmill?
Yes, they did, but rebuilding their windmill allowed them to realize that they wouldn't be defeated, and that they came to realize how much strength that the animal farm had by rebuilding the windmill, and that they realized that they could not be defeated.
But did having to rebuild the windmill hamper the animals' progress in finishing the windmill?
Yes, it did, but it gave them a better mental state of mind.
But then they still had to work harder, and it made it harder for them to finish other projects they were already working on. So that proves that war does not bring progress. Moving on, do you like food?
Yes.
Time. Glad we cleared that up. You have 3 minutes for your opening statement, and that time dear begins now.
My argument is that war does not bring progress. War is harmful and should not occur. Overall, it does not help society. War is very expensive and destroys people's daily lives. As Yusen Tag once said, nobody can think and hit someone at the same time. The main motives for war are usually to benefit those in power, not the general population. A government might decide to join a war to gain more land and natural resources for improving the nation's economy. My first main point is that war is bad for economies. My opponent may argue that war is actually good for a country's economy, but this is not true. These benefits do not last for long because after the war ends, there will be a great job shortage, a sharp population decrease, and a general lack of supplies. These results are all because of war. During World War I, Russia sided with France and Great Britain, distributing resources to the war effort rather than the Russian people. The shortage of resources led to countrywide death, disease, and overall devastation. Many Russian citizens are facing unemployment, homelessness, and starvation. If the countries had gotten along well and had not been at war with each other, these outcomes would not have been so serious. In Animal Farm, the animals' lives did not get better as a result of the rebellion. The animals were less equal than before and starving. The animals were also afraid to speak out against the conditions for fear of being killed by one of Napoleon's dogs. The animal circumstances did not improve because of the war and rebellion. My second main point is that war severs relationships. When the Spanish conquered the Inca and the Aztecs through war, they replaced the native crops with cash crops. These new crops needed a large labor force, resulting in the Atlantic slave trade. Africans were taken away from their families and forced to become slaves. These millions of slaves never had the chance to live their lives. Also, because so many Africans were taken away, some African societies were more vulnerable to conquest groups, resulting in more wars and deaths. Slavery is also a major cause of the underdevelopment of Africa today. When friends get into a fight, they are no longer as close and no longer rely on each other. If two friends are working on a project like the Y1K and get into a fight, they will have hard feelings and resent each other. Also, they will not be able to communicate efficiently, so work will not get done and the project won't be nearly as successful. War benefits neither the victorious nor the defeated side. Post-war economic impacts are too severe to justify the war. The welfare of the general people is often neglected, and war also disrupts family life. War causes greed and ignorance, not progress. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
All right, Eva, you have 2 minutes to cross-examine too, and your time begins now.
Professor, do you agree that the Battle of the Cowshed in Animal Farm by George Orwell was a form of war?
Yes.
So, do you agree that Mr. Jones was the ruler of Animal Farm in the beginning?
Yes.
Do you agree that freedom is better than slavery?
Yes.
Well, since you agree that freedom is better than slavery, you then agree that the animals in Animal Farm are better off in the end than they were in the beginning.
No, because they had even less food than before, because Wheeler was only lying when he was talking about how the figures, or when he was talking about the figures and how they actually had more food than before, because really then they had to work harder and got less food.
Well, I measure better off by the happiness a person or thing has in a given situation. In the end of Animal Farm, the animals are way more happy than they were in the beginning. And in the end, they feel like all of their work is going towards a goal, where in the beginning they felt like their work was for nothing. Therefore, the animals are better off after the war. Do you agree?
No, because the pigs eventually just turned into humans again, so they just went right back to the beginning.
Yes, but the animals still had no food in the beginning. They had no food in the end, but the animals are more happy in the end. So wouldn't that be better?
But they wouldn't be happy if the humans are coming back.
But the humans aren't back. They're just, the farm is still being run by animals.
But the pigs had just turned into humans, and so it's no longer being run by animals.
Well, like, in the end of Animal Farm, the animals are like, they're happy, and they don't realize that, like, maybe they have less food or maybe they have less supplies, but they're still happy, and they feel like that they have done work to make their society better.
Time. All right, you each have 1 minute to prepare for your closing statement. You're welcome to use the table behind you. There should be pencils there. Last time. So, Eva, we'll begin with your closing statement. Y'all will return to the podiums. And so you have 1 minute, Eva, and that time begins.
In conclusion, war brings progress for many reasons. War can help push you to be better than someone else or be the best that you can be. War can also get rid of bad situations, and that has shown many times in history. When people think of war, they just think of the negative, deaths. But war can help for the greater good. Also, war can be in different forms that might not even cause death. My opponent debated that the expense of war and the cost is not worth the prize of more land or whatever they're fighting for, but sometimes sacrifices have to be made for the greater good. Just remember George Orwell's quote, "People sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence at their behalf." Thank you.
All right. You have 1 minute for your closing statement starting now.
Millions of people die from war, which is horrendous and in no way contributes to progress. During World War I, there were over 35 million casualties, and those who survived and came home had changed psychologically. Again, war does not bring progress. As I have already argued, war causes economic stress, disconnection in relationships, and a lot more. Even after the war, people are still impacted by the after effects. Under cross-examination, my opponent admitted in Animal Farm the battle between Mr. Frederick and his men, which resulted in the destruction of the windmill, hindered the animal's progress in finishing the windmill. As Henry Ford once said, "Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." When people are at war, they are fighting against each other instead of working together. Progress comes from collaborating, not war. Thank you.
Great job, y'all. If you will, bring me your opening